The structure of professional communication and presentation is different from other classes that you might have taken in the past. In this class, you will be working on several major projects, such as the informative presentation or the persuasive presentation, but you will be working on a few steps before you actually submit those major projects. And so in this class, we'll go through a series of steps. And the first one is going to be brainstorming. And so some of your assignments are related to brainstorming. After you brainstorm a topic, you will then work to organize that. And so that'll be in the format of an outline or a storyboard. Once that portion of the project is completed, you'll work to develop some delivery tools such as storytelling, and you'll work to practice and rehearse. And then finally, you will present. In this class, your planning, discussions, and assignments are really stepping stones towards your major projects in the class. A great presentation takes time and planning in each phase of the presentation ecosystem: content, delivery, and visual story. And so these planning, discussions, and assignments will serve as stepping stones towards your two major projects in the course. And so your instructors have found that this method helps you prepare a stronger presentation in the end. So you can think of each of the planning discussions you have to do as one more step towards mastering the skill of creating a strong presentation. And so let's take the example of the informative podcast and break down how each of the smaller pieces of this project are going to fit together to help you create a strong informative podcast. Your first step is going to be to complete discussion 1, which is a plan and topic proposal for this presentation. And so in this plan, you will do some analysis and brainstorm of your purpose, your audience, your subject, and any parameters of the assignment that might be challenging, difficult for you, or that you have questions on. Once your instructor accepts your proposal, she will send you back feedback for that proposal, and then you will move on to step 2. You can't move on to step 2 until you have that feedback from step 1. In step 2, you will revise your proposal if your instructor asked you to do so, and develop an outline. And so remember, this is all to help you develop a stronger informative podcast in the end. You've already completed step 1, brainstorming. Now you've moved on to step 2, organizing. And so in this assignment, you will develop a speaking outline and determine what your hook or attention getter is going to be, how you're going to integrate your source material, what your major body points will be, and how you will close that presentation. Once you've completed discussion 2 and you've received feedback for this, it's time to move on to step 3, which is a draft of your flash story. So you're going to learn about storytelling as both a content and a delivery tool in this course. And in this assignment, you will put together a draft of a flash story, a little narrative moment, an anecdote that you're going to actually include in your informative podcast. And so after you've reviewed your outline, you will develop this flash story. Your instructor will provide you with feedback on the flash story, and you will then adapt and rework the story and figure out what the best place for that impacting narrative will be in your informative podcast. The final step will be to put together the informative podcast. You are, of course, going to use the same topic that you were approved for in discussion 1, that you developed an outline for in discussion 2, and that you developed a story from in assignment 2. So each one of these pieces, as you can see from this visualization, each one of these pieces is connected to help you get to that final step. And so if we look at this from a bird's eye view, we have our starting point, which is you choosing a topic, then brainstorming it. We have the outline of that topic. You have your flash story, which will go into your podcast. You will revise and edit that. And then you have the final podcast. And so as you can see, each one of these previous assignments helps you build on that final one. And you have consistent instructor feedback so you know what direction you're moving in and how well you're doing so far in terms of putting together the presentation. Let your instructor know what questions you have after you review this and review the instructions for both the podcast and the first step of the podcast project, which is your discussion 1 plan and proposal.